Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm Owen Riel, and this is the Collective Record. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 16 of the Collective Record. As always, I'm Owen Riel. This is Emma Kaser, and we're going to jump right into it today. We've got two very exciting segments. So first of all, we're going to talk about the Democratic primary of 2020, talk a little bit about Bernie Sanders, some of the recent standings, that sort of thing. And then after the break, we might do a little Q&A in there somewhere. After the break, we're going to talk about the coronavirus, which is very scary. One case confirmed in Toronto. I'm a little worried. On that positive note, we're going to talk about the primary. Okay, so we've talked about the Democratic primary previously on the show. And the reason I enjoy talking about it so much is because the first Democratic primary is actually what sort of got me into really deeply into politics in the first place and Bernie Sanders. We've actually seen a few recent developments and some new polling that suggests some exciting trends for Bernie Sanders. So for anybody who's unfamiliar with how the Democratic primary sort of plays out, the first state is Iowa, the second state is New Hampshire, the third state's Nevada, and the fourth state is South Carolina. Okay? So Iowa and New Hampshire are both considered very important. Iowa a little more, New Hampshire a little less, but very important as the first two states. Now, in Iowa, in recent polls, Bernie Sanders is enjoying a lead of roughly 7 points on Joe Biden. Okay? And he is enjoying a lead of 9 points in New Hampshire, where he beat Hillary Clinton in 2016. So that's pretty exciting that Bernie Sanders is already leading in early states, because those two states often set the tone for the whole for a large part of the primary, or at least the candidates who win those states usually go on to get bumps in their polling numbers. And considering at this point that Bernie Sanders is only 6 points behind Joe Biden nationally, those two states could be enough to push him over the edge of popularity in the Democratic primary and could win him the nomination potentially. So it's pretty exciting stuff we're talking about here. And it really looks like this is going to be a two-person race. It previously looked like it was possibly going to be a three-person race with Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and Joe Biden. But it looks at this point like Elizabeth Warren is sort of losing some momentum as Bernie Sanders has been gaining momentum. So I think in Iowa, she's down 6 points from about a month ago, and Bernie Sanders is up about 7. So she is sort of beginning to fall behind in the race. Okay. Now, there's been some recent developments in the relationship and some of the conversations that Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren have had. I'm sure anybody familiar with the Democratic primary knows this, but two staffers who CNN say are familiar with this phone call that took place in late 2018 say that Bernie Sanders said that a woman could not win the presidency, or would be very unlikely to win the presidency. And then later on, Elizabeth Warren commented on this and said, and I quote, "I said I thought a woman could win. He disagreed." So to me, I think that this is sort of an interesting situation because it wasn't Elizabeth Warren that actually came out and said this first. Now, keep in mind, this was, a little over a year. I think this happened in November 2018. So this happened a little over a year ago, and it was two of her staffers who actually hadn't heard the phone call, but had secondhand knowledge of the phone call that brought this to CNN. And then later on, Elizabeth Warren sort of had to comment on it. Now, if I were a skeptic, and I am, I think that what happened here was that wasn't exactly what Bernie Sanders said. And I think he might have said something like Donald Trump might try and weaponize sexism in the United States against a female nominee. And Elizabeth Warren told that to her staffers, and then her staffers took that differently than what she had meant. And then after her staffers had said that, she had to then also come out and was sort of forced to go along with what her staffers had said. If that was that's how I would analyze the situation. That's what I think happened here. I don't think that I think that's totally out of character for Bernie Sanders. I mean, there are videos of him in the 80s talking to children and telling them, like, all of you can be president, whether you're a boy or a girl, whatever, right? That he's been saying this for a very, very long time. So I think for him to say something like that would be totally out of character. And I think there was a great misunderstanding in the Warren camp. And then Elizabeth Warren was sort of forced to take this narrative on that maybe she wasn't even totally on board with in the first place. That'd be my best guess. I don't know. I'm guessing here, and I've watched Bernie Sanders since the 2016 primaries, and it just seems so like out of character for him to say. I don't know.
But Elizabeth Warren did she said that was true.
Yeah.
What her staff released, she said that she thought a woman could win, and Bernie disagreed with her.
Yeah.
So that's what she said, right? It's not like it was just her staff making these claims.
Well, but it was her staff first,
yes.
And then she was forced to comment on it later.
By your interpretation, right?
No, but it was like she had to comment on it if her staff would have.
But she could have said it was a fluke, that someone misunderstood something or made a mistake, but she corroborated the story.
That's
so,
true.
Maybe there is something to it, right?
There could be, yeah.
I mean, I agree that it seems out of character, but...
Yeah, it just... I don't know, like...
You can't just ignore it either way.
No,
right?
yeah, no. I don't want to ignore it, but Bernie Sanders
You have to give it due consideration.
Yeah. I don't know, Bernie Sanders is so... Yeah.
That doesn't mean that he doesn't think a woman should win. Just...
Yeah, I mean...
But that's still pretty bad.
Yeah.
But in our current world...
So in case you can't hear Emma behind the...
Okay.
In case you
right.
can't hear... hold on. In case you can't hear Emma behind the computer, she's saying
Emma.
that... The other Emma behind the
us.
computer, not the microphone. She's saying that even if he said, he didn't think a woman could win, that doesn't mean he didn't think a woman should win. And I think even to say that he didn't think a woman could win, I still think that
still not something you should say.
Even, yeah.
And I don't think it's true. And as Elizabeth Warren pointed out, that her and the other women on the stage in the Democratic debate were the only people there that had won all elections they had competed in.
Yeah.
So... I
mean, that analysis isn't entirely fair because, like, Elizabeth Warren has only run for the Senate.
But I think it's a...
Yeah.
Is it entirely relevant? Maybe not.
Yeah, because the thing is...
But
like,
it is...
Bernie Sanders has been a politician for 40 years and has run, like, 15 campaigns.
I think it's a pretty strong comeback to someone saying, I don't think a woman can win.
Yeah.
Right? If he did say that,
yeah.
I think that's a pretty strong comeback. And
the other problem I sort of took with that Democratic debate was they asked Bernie Sanders directly and he said no, and then they asked Elizabeth Warren right after and they went, "What did you think when Bernie Sanders said that?" And it was so like,
well,
they're just like totally, I mean,
okay.
Even
here's the thing.
You want to play it equally, that's fine. But to just totally ignore that he just completely denied that and like,
okay,
it just seems so like, I don't know.
I support Bernie Sanders, right?
Yeah.
I agree with his ideas. I think he's a great candidate.
Mm-hmm.
But there's that whole thing in general about like believing women and how a man's word is, generally valued more than a woman. So I don't want to be quick here to just dismiss Elizabeth Warren, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we have to be very careful of that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't, because Elizabeth Warren is a strong progressive and generally
I just want to make sure that we're
solid
being
politician.
fair here, right?
Yeah.
Because she is a woman.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. I don't know. Just to me, it just seems so out of character for Bernie Sanders. I don't like what
I get what you mean.
Yeah,
I agree. I think it seems out of character too.
Yeah.
But it also seems out of character for Elizabeth Warren to, in a public statement, lie about something that happened, right?
Yeah, I don't think she would ever lie.
So I'm not,
Yeah.
it's a difficult situation.
'Cause, like,
I'm not happy about it.
The thing is, any if there was, if the nominee ends up being female, I think it's undoubted that they would face extra hardships.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with
So
that.
it's possible that Bernie
Sexism
Sanders
is
was
well and
trying
alive
to.
in the US.
Yeah, like it's possible that Bernie Sanders was trying to convey that, and just had a day where he conveyed it poorly or something.
It's likely that it was a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
But I don't want to just dismiss it.
Because they're both
They're both progressive candidates.
progressive people, good people. It seems from what you see from both of them. So I hate to see the two of them
Fighting
put against each other that way when they're just both very strong progressives. Anyway, we'll stop talking about this because this wasn't really the focus of my segment here. But yeah, I mean, I think it's important to talk about it though, and bring to light different perspectives on the issue. So as I mentioned before, Joe Biden leads Bernie Sanders by about 6 points. So I mean, at this point, that looks like, ooh, that might be tough. But by contrast, in 2016, Hillary Clinton led Bernie Sanders by 20 points at this point in 2016. So, and Bernie Sanders came back to close that gap to 2%. So I think the strength of Bernie Sanders' campaign, shouldn't be underestimated at this point in the race when no ballots have been cast in the Democratic primary. It's also possible, like in 2016, that Bernie Sanders faces a great deal of negative media attention, or even a media blackout. This sort of happened in 2016 when a lot of news outlets sort of dismissed Bernie Sanders as, oh, he's not going to win. He's a socialist, whatever. His ideas are unrealistic and that sort of thing. But I don't know if that'll be the case. What I'm hoping is that it won't be, because he's so close to Joe Biden, and he was not nearly this close last time around. So I don't think he'll be dismissed, but I think he might be scoffed at by the establishment. So that might work against him, or it might work for him, because people generally don't like the establishment in politicians or the media. So that might work even for him if the establishment is too vocal against Bernie Sanders. So I kind of just wanted to quickly talk about why I really respect Bernie Sanders and I like Bernie Sanders, because at the moment he's the only candidate running that is completely funded by grassroots donations. So, regular people donating $26, $30, $15, $10 to his campaign. He's the only candidate in the race who does not have one donation from a billionaire or a corporate PAC. He's the only candidate, the only one who is solely grassroots donations. And I really think that speaks to his character, and as a politician and a progressive who's been at this for 40 years, somebody who's been at this forever, ran for mayor of Burlington, failed 3 times, and then finally by 5 votes won, and now he's a front runner in a Democratic presidential primary. I think that's his tenacity is so. I hope that's the right word. Tenacity.
I'm not sure.
I think that's the right word. Hopefully that's the right word. He's just so, and he's so, his policies are very universal and about solidarity between the working and middle classes, and it just, I don't know, like Bernie Sanders just speaks to me in a very different way that other political figures generally don't. And he's just so, I don't know, like I just love Bernie Sanders.
I know.
I hate to like be that guy who's just like, oh, I love Bernie so much, but he's just so like, there's no other candidate in the United States who's like Bernie Sanders, completely grassroots funded and has the record that he does of over 40 plus years of fighting for justice economically and socially. I think that really speaks to a person's character that he's been at it so long and worked really hard. I don't know. He's just, Yeah, and he's raised the most money of any candidate too. No billionaires, no super PACs, no corporations, and he's still managed to raise the most by a long shot. I think he's raised $37 million to date just from grassroots organizing and donations. I don't know. It's just really impressive that he's been able to raise that much money. I don't know. What do you think?
Nah, I don't know.
No?
No. I mean, like I already said, I like Bernie Sanders. I support him. I 100% agree with his opinions.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. He's an ever old white man. And I know that, that really shouldn't matter because he's very socially progressive and, he's a feminist and, he advocates for all the things I believe in. But I don't know. It would be nice to see someone more diverse.
It would.
That doesn't mean he shouldn't be elected. If Bernie is elected, I will be very, very happy, right? I mean, I'll, yay, right? But,
Yeah.
I hope that in the future we see more diverse candidates that, fight for those same things.
Yeah, the thing is, this Democratic field was very progressive, but Bernie Sanders it was very diverse, but it wasn't, like, Bernie Sanders was still
I know.
the most progressive person on stage,
you're right.
Which is, I totally agree.
It would just be nice to see,
Yeah, it would be nice.
Not to discredit Bernie at all.
No, but I totally agree that, a more diverse.
Let's hope he wins this election, but let's hope that in the coming years we'll see, more diverse candidates who, I'm hoping for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I'm hoping for her. She's brilliant. Oh my God.
And him, I think, if he is elected.
And she endorsed Bernie Sanders
Yes, she
also.
did.
And so did the other congresswoman, Ilhan Omar.
Ilhan
So
Omar.
that makes me pretty happy
Yeah.
because I'm, a big fan of both of them. They're both so smart and
I'm sure they'll both
fighting
be
for all the right things
campaigning.
in the community. Yeah, well, I know, Alexandra has been campaigning with him
Yeah.
because she posted on her Instagram.
She's-
She does live streams with Bernie.
Yeah.
It's pretty,
or
it's
sometimes
pretty
she'll just
good.
do live streams where she's like in her apartment doing
like
whatever.
cooking food.
Yeah.
She's like, okay, guys, let's do a Q&A while I make some pasta. And I'm like,
That is
Yeah.
pretty cool.
it's approachable and it's like she's opening herself up to anyone, right, who wants to have a conversation, and I like that. I think that's really admirable.
And I hope that Bernie Sanders, if he does end up winning the nomination in the presidency, paves the way, and I think he will.
Paves the way for
Paves the way for a more
women like
diverse
her
field.
to
Mhm.
and I think he would.
Yeah.
So I'm not
Yeah.
like I said, I won't be upset if he
Yeah.
wins. But yeah, I think that about sums up my opinion.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I don't know what else to say about it, but
Okay,
we're-
do you wanna
by
do
the way,
like a quick Q&A before we go on break, and
yeah.
I'll do my coronavirus.
Yeah, so
thing
if
after the
anyone-
break.
If anyone's got any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. Whoever commented about the people infected with coronavirus, that's what we're talking about after the break. So we're not ignoring that. That's like huge news that we're talking
Scary
about.
news.
Yeah,
Huge
very
scary news. Oh my
very
God.
scary stuff.
Not
We're
well.
living in a
You're laughing.
we're living in a very scary world. 2020, I was like so excited about 2020. It was
Me
going to be
too.
like, and it's starting to shape
I
up to
saw,
not
like-
be so good.
Yeah.
Like,
Wasn't there some of our outbreak in the last 20s? What was it?
It was 17, 18, and 19.
Yeah.
They all had a plan.
I saw
Yeah.
something like
because
that.
the
Yeah, I saw the tweet too. Something like that. In every 20s so far, we've had an outbreak of some kind of scary disease.
yeah, because this okay, so the
So-
Spanish flu was the part of the outbreak was in 1918, but it extended into the 20s.
And
Yeah.
1820 also had one.
18.
And I
Look it
believe
up.
So did 17.
Okay, so 1820 apparent. Okay, 1820 plague. Oh, people. Okay, so it's at the top because people are searching. When I put in 1820, people are searching it now because they were worried
Because
about
we're
it.
all scared. It's pretty scary. We'll talk about it more after the break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 1720 plague, 1820 cholera outbreak, 1920 Spanish flu, 20, and then this headline says 2020 coronavirus. I don't think we should be over.
We
alarmed.
shouldn't be alarmist,
Yeah.
but
We're talking about this after the break. Let's
Yeah,
not.
yeah, yeah,
let's
yeah.
not. Let's not.
yeah, we
give
have.
up
I have a whole segment
too
planned.
much
Don't ruin my segment,
discussion.
guys. Come on.
But
Come on,
also,
come on.
It's not 100,000.
How many?
No, it's not 100,000. We'll talk about it
Yes,
after the
okay.
break.
All right. Well, let's take a break then because it's 7:20. So we'll get to that very exciting segment next. So yeah, don't leave. We'll be right back. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. So Emma has prepared a very exciting segment on the.
Exciting is not.
Yeah, I don't think
exciting.
you want to use the word exciting.
No, we don't want to
Like,
use the word
that's the
exciting.
wrong word.
Didn't think about that.
Yeah.
And very informative segment on
Okay.
the
There you
coronavirus
go.
situation. So without further ado, and without saying anything dumb, I'm gonna hand it over to Emma.
Yeah. No, it's not exciting.
No,
Please
it's not.
disregard that statement. Okay, so last week, and I'm also going to not smile during the segment. I've been told I smile at inappropriate moments, so I'm not going to do that. Anyway, so last week a variation of the coronavirus was detected in Wuhan, China. So let's talk about, what it is, where, all the logistics around it. So the coronavirus is like a family of viruses with different variations. So these variations range from just like the common cold, which most people, have had in their lives, to more serious diseases like the outbreak back in 2002 of SARS, S-A-R-S.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So, the symptoms of the coronavirus that is currently spreading everywhere include respiratory problems, difficulty breathing, fever, coughing. Those are, the more mild ones, all the way to things like kidney failure, acute respiratory syndrome, which is when like fluid builds up in your lungs. And it's pretty bad, as you can see. So Chinese authority has traced this recent outbreak back to one of Wuhan's live animal markets. So, like, one of those live animal markets is where, like, meat and fish are slaughtered directly at the market. So there's all these live animals that are on a very small space. They're all stressed for, exchanging bacteria, and it's not very sanitary, and likely a virus was transmitted to humans that way. So animal rights activists have been talking about banning these markets for years because of the harm due to animals, and they've actually been banned now. Not permanently, just until this outbreak is over, but I can definitely see why they are an issue, obviously, but they're part of a very, ancient Chinese tradition and culture, and people are very reluctant to give them up. But, maybe the cultural meaning will change due to this outbreak. So let's talk about where cases of this virus have been. So the US has seen 5 cases. France has seen 3 cases. Australia has seen 1 case. There's also small cases in South Korea, Japan, Nepal, Thailand, Singapore, Vietnam, Taiwan, and 1 case in Toronto, which is pretty close to where we are.
Yeah.
It might have changed, but what I was just reading said 1.
There's 5 in the U.S.
Yeah, there's 5 in the US. I'm pretty sure there's only 1 in Australia. But yeah, so there's 1 in Toronto, a man who had recently traveled to Wuhan. He was feeling unwell and called 911. The paramedics, before they came, looked at his travel record and saw where he had been, so they came, fully suited up. That's the wrong expression. I don't know how to say it, but they were equipped to deal with this thing so that they didn't get infected there. And the only person who this man came in close contact with was his wife, who is being monitored at the moment. So there's really not a lot of risk to Canadians right now in Ontario, but
He did display symptoms on the plane, though.
I'm not happy.
Which
Yeah,
could
we're trying to get in contact with all passengers within 3 rows, in a plane range of him. But the idea is that what they're suspecting right now is the way the virus is transmitted is very close contact for a prolonged period of time. And, you are sitting close together when you're on a plane, but you're not hugging your seat neighbor, right?
Yeah, but
you generally keep to yourself.
What I saw was it can be transmitted through shaking somebody's hand and stuff like that. No, is that incorrect?
That's not true.
Oh, okay. Well, then
at least it's
what
not
I read was wrong.
It's not been stated by the authorities.
Okay, gotcha.
So let's talk about the people who've been affected in China. So, according to the Washington Post, to date, at least 1,287 people are affected in China. And the mayor of Wuhan has said that he expects about 1,000 more cases to surface when they're done with testing that's being done right now, which is terrifying. And in addition, they have 8,420 people under observation. So these are people who have come in that close proximity with someone who was diagnosed with the virus. That's a lot of people. Also, 41 people have actually died of this virus. So when people started dying, most deaths were people over, the age of 60 who had pre-existing conditions. So the healthcare system assumed that, not everyone's immune system would be vulnerable to it. But then yesterday, actually, another man died in Wuhan who was young, completely healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So that further raises public health concerns over the severity of this virus. So how is China dealing with the crisis? There's a travel ban in various places in China, actually 16 cities in total, so a lot of people are on lockdowns. And China's medical system is really struggling with this outbreak. Their hospitals are overcrowded, supplies are running out. And actually in Wuhan, there's this race for workers to build a hospital in a week, like 1,000-bed hospital in 1 week. That's insane, right? So that really speaks to the severity of the crisis in China. The World Health Organization also held a meeting on Wednesday about whether or not to declare a global health crisis, but did not, saying it was too soon. So that's more of a positive note. But yeah, this is a very scary event in general, and there's also a lot of international concerns about, China and their transparency concerning these issues, right? So, people think that they might be underreporting, and an expert with the Washington Post estimated that it could actually be 10 times worse than reported. Which is terrifying, because in that case, the number of 100,000 people sick that someone commented on the collective record would be accurate.
Yeah.
So, China's not reliable, and that's true, they're not. So I think that's very worrying.
Yeah.
And then in addition, a lot of people are concerned because of the Chinese New Year that's coming up, and that, a lot of people travel back home to their families, and that would facilitate the spreading of the disease. So, treatment. Ha, there is none. I'm smiling at an inappropriate moment. But no, I know, I'm trying. But yeah, so there is an antiviral treatment that's being developed after the SARS outbreak, and it might be applicable for this virus as well. But right now, currently, there's no treatment, there's no vaccine. I doubt that one will come out soon enough to,
Yeah. But
I think that
we may not see, it may not spread, there's no certainty as to how fast it could spread.
No, especially if it's not, just that small contact, but it's really very close proximity.
Yeah. And, it's, yeah. and China is, their population density is a lot higher than, Canada's, the United States, for example. So, in China, something like this would likely spread faster because there is much closer proximity to other people in China in general because of the population density of the country, as opposed to Canada, which is not a population dense country at all. So, as far as if we're just focusing on Canada, it may not spread as quickly, but if it's going to spread, it may still spread in Canada. Hopefully it.
Well, I don't know. I agree with the Ontario Health Board assessment that it's not a risk to Canadians right now, right? There's been one case. The man is being, isolated in a hospital and treated with the limited, options available. And the only person who might have it is, isolated. People are being contacted. I think they have it under control.
It looks like it.
It's scary, but I'm not concerned for my personal health right now.
Not at this point.
Not at this point. No, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't like it though.
See, I'm a little bit of a pessimistic person, so
Someone commented, hold your breath challenge for 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, just so it goes away.
That's kind of funny. Not that this is a funny situation in any way, but
I'm a little afraid of what is sort of looking to happen here.
I think it's like that. I remember my dad always used to say this, when in trouble or in doubt, run around and scream and shout, right? It's not going to help you to panic, right? It's going to just increase, the the issue. You should always be calm about it, right? You know, take necessary precautions, be informed, but don't freak out because you're just going to make it worse and you're not going to help yourself.
And it seems like our government officials are handling this with
on top of it.
A very steady hand.
Yeah,
you know.
I think they are. You know, they released a statement saying they were very on top of it, and especially because we did have that SARS outbreak, and that was it 2002, I think.
2003.
So our whole healthcare system, you know, is now prepared for a global health crisis like this because they've experienced it before, right?
Well, more prepared.
Yeah, okay.
There's always
but,
you know, differences.
Better a little prepared than not at all prepared,
better.
right?
Yes.
I mean, I prefer that very much.
And the other thing is, you know, it's possible that, you know, viruses can mutate as well and change. Their nature can change over time. So, you know, it could worsen in severity over time. But that's only speculation, right? It could also stay the exact same, and we deal with, you know, we wrap this case up in a month, right? It's either way, it's entirely possible. So there's no point in panicking over this, as you said. There's no, you know, there's no point in panicking because it could really go either way.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important that we keep informed, and you know, but let's not freak out. Freaking out has never helped anyone.
Maybe get a little bit of canned food in case you have to stay inside for a while.
Okay, let's not. No. Please ignore Owen's, you know, extinction alarmist declaration.
No, not yet.
No, don't. Oh my God!
No,
Can you cut his camera off?
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, that's not. No, I don't think that is something that we know. No.
I'm mostly kidding.
You're not. We all know you're not kidding. We all know you're being serious.
I just, you know.
You were entirely prepared.
Just but keep an eye on the news if things, you know.
I think we have to make sure that, because when people start panicking, they start doing things that are irrational.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
behaving in a way that makes something worse, right? And spreading false info, like you were just saying, you can get it by handshake. No, you can't, right? That's not the case. But because people are so scared of getting it, this information is out there and flowing about, and you have to be careful, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't trust your friends. Go to a news source.
Yeah, exactly. What I meant was, don't be panicked, but be prepared, or prepare however you feel necessary, but don't be you know, going.
It's not an earthquake. Don't tell people to.
No, but if you feel the need to be prepared, then do whatever you have to, but don't be an alarmist.
There is one case in Toronto that has been contained and dealt with very well. I don't think we have to
No, we don't. Okay,
we don't have to ring the alarm bells. No. Let's not ring the alarm bells.
No, I'm not saying go out and buy canned food because we're
going. That's literally what you just said.
I meant if you feel like the situation worsens to a point where you're worried about it, or, you know, there's a case near you or something, you know, it doesn't hurt to be prepared for something.
Oh my God.
It doesn't hurt to be prepared.
Okay.
The
collective record TM does not actually facilitate this information and recommendation provided by Owen Riel.
Don't be an alarmist.
Quick
but
little
if you feel
disclaimer
the need,
over here.
Don't,
please stop talking.
Don't.
Stop it.
Don't be an alarmist.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions that have something to do with, you know, no canned food? No canned food. We're done with that.
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
Yeah. Does anyone else have anything they Let's do a quick Q&A if anyone has anything.
Hey, don't take my quotes out of context. Don't take my quotes out of context. You know what I'm saying.
You have to be careful. Don't trust your friends.
You have to be careful.
No.
There's a case near you. I did not say there's a case near you. I did not say that.
Okay, does anyone have any questions? Any other questions about the coronavirus?
That's enough, Cam.
Okay.
Taking me out of context.
Oh, you're not on camera right now.
I know. Oh, I'm not on camera?
Yeah, you're not. You got banned from the camera when you made the canned food comment.
But
you were done.
But you can't cut my mic.
Record now. Be quiet.
But you can't cut my mic. I can talk all I want into the mic.
Damn it.
Yeah, no. Yeah, just.
We have a question.
Okay. Do you have any ideas for what reasonable precautions one could? Seriously?
Okay. Can I? Since I said
no, you cannot. John Kaser.
I'm gonna respond because I want. Can you put me back on camera?
No, don't put. No.
Okay. So if you felt, I'm not saying there's any reason at this point to take precautions, and I think that it's more than 99% likely that you will not need to take precautions at all.
Oh,
But if you feel the need to take precaution, like if this is to advance, which I don't think it will, but if it does advance, it's good to always,
no,
keep-
it's like people in Washington, I think, like in actual Washington, were like, oh, should we be wearing face masks, right? And no, you shouldn't. You're fine, right?
we're
like,
not even close to
no,
that point
we're
yet.
not even like forget canned food. You don't even have to wear a face mask,
Yeah.
right? Like you're fine.
Yeah, but
We're
if you
okay.
things to do if you do feel if this does get way worse than anyone is predicting that it will, which it likely will not. Good things to do are have a face mask at home,
Ugh.
hand sanitizer, whatever. Keep yourself nice and clean.
I don't know. We don't
Have
even have
canned
soap
food.
in the
If you
bathrooms
have
at
to-
our schools.
If
so.
you have to, if you have to stay home and you don't want to go outside and don't want to get the virus, just canned food. But we're not even close to that point. I just want to reiterate that I'm not saying go out and do that. Don't. This
quick,
is like
quick disclaimer.
this is like
ignore everything
so
I
far
said.
down the road if it gets worse. But
No, it'll be fine.
Yes.
I do not think we need to be concerned at this
No.
point about our personal health, right?
Mhm.
Even the World Health Organization did not declare a global health crisis. The World Health Organization, right? I mean, they're
Yeah.
pretty on top of it, and I think they would be cautionary, right? They're not just going to. They wouldn't not declare it a global health crisis if it was at this point.
Mhm.
So I think we have to, to a certain degree, trust in the institutions
Yes.
around us that
Yeah,
are meant to
absolutely.
keep us safe. Be cautious, but
Mhm. Oh yeah. You have to. I mean, you have to trust the institutions around you because, like, what else are you gonna do? Like they're,
well,
and
you
they're
should start
designed.
stocking up on
They're
canned food,
designed.
Owen.
No, it's not. That's not distrust though. And I'm not saying do that. Once again, I'm not saying go out and do that. No, but it's good for everyone to be prepared. But yeah, our institutions are designed to handle things like this because they know that these situations are possible. So there is absolutely reason
But
to
I would-
be faithful in our institutions.
I would pay attention to the World Health Organization and any coming statements they'll
Yes.
be releasing because they said they thought it was too soon to declare the global health crisis, right? So either
Mhm.
it stays at this level, it stays contained to the degree it has developed at so far, or it grows exponentially
Mm-hmm.
worse, and then they will declare the global health crisis.
Oh, John Kaser made a comment. I would personally delay travel to affected parts of China if possible.
Well, China has closed all
Yeah.
major airports, basically.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure,
Wow.
yeah. And 16 cities have complete travel bans, so
Wow.
I don't think you even can travel to Wuhan right now if you want to.
Really?
Did you see the
Let me
situation-
look it up to make sure, but I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Did you see the situation in Hong Kong with protesters burning a building that they were going to use for a quarantine building because it was close to a school area and they didn't want them to.
Really? Wow.
No, I did not.
So that's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting what's going on right now, but it's very unlikely that this goes anywhere.
Yeah, the
serious.
airport in Wuhan has been closed. All major airports in China have been closed.
Yeah.
I mean, the government of China does not want to be responsible
No.
for a major global health epidemic,
Yeah.
right? I mean, they're already on, thin ice
in the
with a
international
lot
community.
of powerful countries due to their, human rights abuses.
Mhm.
I don't think they want to get more negative.
No, not at all.
But that also means, like I was saying earlier, that they might be underscoring the number of people who are actually sick or affected or dying,
It
which is
possible,
terrifying.
because it's not.
China's not reliable, and China
No.
is not transparent.
Exactly. I was just gonna say we know that the government of China is not known for its honesty with the international community, right?
But
So-
this is a health issue, so it might be different. So
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah. So what I'm
Okay.
saying is panic. Make sure you get prepared now. This is a pandemic. No, I'm not saying. No, just kidding. That's a joke. That is a joke.
when in trouble or in doubt, go listen to the collective record and then run around and scream. and
Yeah,
shout.
exactly. Just listen to us tell you should panic and then
Yeah,
panic.
but don't panic if we don't tell you to.
Yeah, exactly. 'Cause
Ignore the World
yes.
Health Organization.
We-
this is where the news are at.
in this room we know everything.
Oh yeah,
So,
I'm a doctor.
Yeah.
Personally.
I have a PhD in everything. So
Oh my god. Okay, does anyone have any more questions about maybe something Owen mentioned earlier with the Democratic primary?
Oh yeah, or anything you guys want to talk about?
Q&A. Collective record confirms that. All right, can someone delete that comment, please?
I just keep just keep digging myself into a hole that I'll never be able to
We know
get out of.
everything. Stay true.
Yeah, I think you just ruined the reputability of the collective record.
We know everything, states Riel.
All right.
I mean, I think.
All right. If
that's
no one has any
all
more
for today.
questions, I think we'll. Right.
I don't think I want to say anything else that is going to be taken out of context today, so I think we'll wrap it up there. And yeah, so subscribe, like the stream, have a great week, and like I said, already, subscribe, do all the stuff, and yeah, we'll see you later.
And remember to panic.
And remember to panic. Have a good night.